author and columnist, I believe, and China expert Gordon Chang joining us now. Good evening, Mr. Chang. I hope you heard, I think you have heard, Mr. Tugendhat's extraordinary interview there with us tonight. Can I get your response to that central claim that a Western power, the United Kingdom, has kowtowed effectively to Chinese trade and Chinese business over justice for alleged Chinese spying? An astonishing story, right?
Astonishing, and clearly that's the way it looks to the outside world, that Britain can be bullied, as the FT just said. Right now, it does appear that Britain is basically weak. And we see this not only in this case, but also this back and forth over the mega embassy. We've just learned about a week ago that the Chinese were turning off the water to the British embassy in Beijing. And what did Britain do? Didn't do anything. And it's still considering the mega embassy. So you put these two things together, and at least from the outside, it does look like Britain is being pushed around, and the Chinese are going to continue to push around. They push around my country, they're pushing around your country, and at some point, we got to grow a backbone.
How does that work, though? I mean, everyone jumps at once, all jump together. The fears and the fears that people every economy is reliant on Chinese imports, from solar panels to chips to even a range of domestic goods. They've got us over the barrel, though, right? There is no way that Britain, America, Europe could just walk away. It's a little bit like with the Russians and their cheap gas and their cheap oil. There'll be a huge economic hit to the West if they did actually stand up for what they believe in.
Yeah, I mean, there would be temporary disruptions. Right now, China has been withholding magnets and rare earth minerals to the United States. They've also got another card to play, which is pharmaceuticals and active pharmaceutical ingredients. But we forget that, as we just heard, China needs us. And certainly, the United States, last year we ran a $294.5 billion merchandise trade deficit with China, which means that we should be using our purchasing power to push the Chinese around, because in trade wars, trade deficit countries hold the cards. But we refuse to see how strong we are. We just look at our weaknesses. So yes, there would be disruptions, but they would be a lot less than China's. China, last year ran a $992.2 billion trade surplus against the world. They really need countries like Britain. They need countries like the United States in order to sell, to keep their economy going.
What sort of message does it send to the also very sophisticated Chinese spying operation that is operating around the world almost, when we see situations like this in London with impunity? Presumably this is a green light to the Beijing communist regime to carry on cracking on.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, they look at all of these disputes over whether it was declared to be a national security threat, in 1990, whatever. And they just laugh at us because they don't have rule of law. To the extent that they have law, they have rule by law. And they aren't going to let some technicality get in their way of taking somebody off of their streets that they feel that has been engaged in espionage against the Chinese state. So they look at us and they believe that we are weak because we're not defending ourselves. The Chinese know what they're doing, and they can see that we're not protecting ourselves. And it's not just Britain, it's also the United States as well, and other countries. So China will continue to engage in the most destructive of behavior until it is stopped. We have the power to stop it, Harry, but we're not doing it. And the Chinese look at us, they look at the United States. They know that by the metrics, we're a far stronger society than China. But they just look at us as a far weaker society because we're not willing to use our power to protect ourselves.
Gordon Chang, chilling warning there. Thank you very much for joining us on Harry Kell Saves the West. Mr. Tugendhat, you're still with me. Gordon Chang's pretty stark words there. The West is weak and China's laughing at us.
Well, actually, Gordon's point was even more than that. It's the West isn't weak, it's choosing to be weak. That's the key word. This is a political decision. These are political decisions. And consistently, We have seen in decisions like the Chagos Island deal, which I've been hugely critical of, which is effectively handing over one of the most important strategic air bases to a country that has genuinely no serious claim to it. And various decisions on whether it's deciding to leave our energy in the ground and become dependent on China for batteries and solar and things like that. This is ridiculous. We are literally choosing to leave ourselves weaker against a state that is actually trying to undermine us.
Yes, we are choosing, but economically they do have us over the barrel. This is exactly the point I was trying to make earlier. Exactly the same with vast parts of Europe. Look what happened after the invasion of Ukraine, massive rising energy prices. Which elected politician who needs to rely on being re-elected is going to tell the British public and the American public and the European public that they need to get poorer?
Harry, look, there's a short-term and a long-term question here. The short-term question is, are you willing to have a fight to defend your freedoms and your liberties? Because if you are not, you're going to find out very quickly that the arguments you have over economic power become irrelevant. Now, just look at what happened when David Cameron met the Dalai Lama. The Chinese apparently snubbed him for 2 years afterwards. Trade with China went up. Why? Because China needs trade too.